This is the Art of Darkness podcast with Kevin Kautzman.
And Abby Lucas.
We're a couple of very online writers interested in the dark side of creativity.
This show is about art and the people who make it, what it costs them, and what it takes to bring something unique and impactful into the world.
On each episode, we examine the life and work of an artist you might think you know.
Don't worry, they're all safely dead.
We aren't. Find us online at artofdarkpod.com, and please support the show through Patreon or Substack. You get extra stuff. Thank you. All right, we are back for the final Dark Room of 2025, Season 5, Abby's final Dark Room before Matt Taylor of the There Will Be Books podcast comes in to take the hot seat from her. I'm preparing my Freud Core episode, which is going to come just in time for the new year, right? I think it's January 3rd I'm going to record that. That's going to be fun. Abby still has one more Core episode this year. Audrey Hepburn, we just recorded a watch party where we watched Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's been a very cinematic year, and we're going to close out with I think what's going to be a fantastic discussion about Tarkovsky and cinema with filmmaker Josh David Jordan, who is currently touring his fabulous independent film El Tonto Por Cristo, which we're going to discuss at length. First, I want to ask Abby. Abby, how are you? You doing well?
I am doing better than I was earlier this week.
You had the sniffles when we watched Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I had more than the sniffles.
Hey, listen, I think we did okay. Really, that was a lot of fun. And maybe we'll do a watch party for El Tonto Por Cristo at some point. Let's welcome Josh to the Dark Room. Josh, where in the world are you right now? Are you down in Texas?
I am actually finally back in Dallas, Texas. It's an odd 70 something degrees here for the holidays, which is kind of unusual, and so it doesn't feel like the holidays. It felt more like the holidays in New Mexico where I was just at, but yes, I'm back in Dallas, Texas. That's hometown, that's home turf.
I've done some theater in Dallas. Dallas is a great town. Dallas Fort Worth, there's a kind of quirky little theater scene down there, and there's a great filmmaker down there by the name of Josh David Jordan who made a film called El Tonto Por Cristo. Let's get the plugs in right away because I genuinely admire, there's a saying online on a certain corner of the internet where we say, you can just do things. And you just did a thing. And is this was this your first feature?
This is number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Like one, not that one is a fluke, but sometimes people are like, well, he survived one. But I think after you've made 2, maybe the term filmmaker pops in on people's brains because and I do feel like the second one was just as hard. Making anything or creating anything is hard. And I felt like I could do it again. That's how I feel. I feel like I can do this again. But, I have a theater background as well. I do theater here in Dallas, Texas at the Okra House Theater. So.
All right, great.
Yeah.
In what capacity do you direct?
I do not. So Matthew Posey, who actually plays the lead character in El Tonto Por Cristo as Father John, he is the creative director of the Okra House Theater. It's all original plays. In the beginning, he was writing all the plays. It's been a theater company for 12 years, and I think I started on play number 2. And Matt's he's in films like No Country for Old Men, Magnificent Seven, True Stories, television. He's a working actor, but his heart, is theater, and that's what really prepared me, I think, for like independent film and just the way Matt has this avant-garde theater in the heart of a city that likes big productions and dazzle. Matt, really, he writes for people. So he asks if you can do the play, and then he writes for you. And that's sort of how I do my cinema as well. Really following Matt's footsteps of, the one rule is to write for people. Number 2 is make sure the audience doesn't get ahead of you. And that's something that I really take on early on in the writing process. So yeah, Matthew Perry is? That's not his name. Matthew Posey. Matthew Posey is like a father figure, friend, mentor. He's all those things, as well as Father John and El Tonto Por Cristo.
a wonderful performance, generational performance in a just and real world. You wouldn't have to battle for distribution, battle for eyes and attention. So hopefully we can, in our own modest way, we'll give you the give the Art of Darkness bump to El Tonto Por Cristo. It's just like it sounds, and it means the fool for Christ. Correct.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
And since it was in Dallas, Texas, there's a lot of Tex-Mex flavor. There's lots of Spanglish, and it just seemed fitting. It was always El Tonto Per Cristo, and I remember at first some different production companies and distribution, they were like, maybe that's not a good title. And it was like, well, it's too late. It's stuck. It's stuck.
Let me read a little bit from the website. The film is finished and the tour begins. Told in luminous vignettes, El Tonto Por Cristo follows a brotherhood of monks on the Texas Gulf as they inch toward sainthood, struggling along the way with the burden of their own condition. Inspired by the ancient tradition of the Holy Fool and set within the quiet rhythms of monastic life, it is the first English-language Orthodox narrative feature of its kind. Woven with Orthodox imagination, it becomes a transcendent meditation on holiness and humanity. And I can confirm that's not just PR fluff. I went and saw this film at the fabulous Heights Theater in Minneapolis. Here recently. And of course, Josh, you were there. Did you have a nice time in the Twin Cities?
What was crazy is what we found out is we're not leaving ourselves enough time to explore these places. And I know that we were staying, and where the theater was, just a little drive, I was like, I should probably be here an extra day to explore, because it felt like there was a really good culinary and art vibe in that area that I was, and I was really blown away. So, and I love the Heights Theater. And then I was just reading in the news, the people from the Music Box in Chicago are going to be taking over and restoring the Heights or helping it out. It was I don't know. It was
great.
But I loved the organ. I loved the theater, the curtains opening up. It was just everything that we wanted in this tour. I feel like the Heights really encapsulated for sure. That was what we were going for.
Yes, if you're ever in the Twin Cities, or if you live in the Twin Cities, you need to put the Heights on your radar. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's across the way from me. It's sometimes a little difficult to get to because I got to drive across town, and often it's like through rush hour, but completely worth it. I had a fantastic time. There was sort of you prefaced it. I think your wife, who is a partner in this, sort of prefaced it by saying, this is an art film. Like, this is not Cape shit, if you will, right? It's not a Marvel 100%. Movie. But, and when I hear that, and I'm a cineast in my own small way, I'm not a filmmaker. Abby's the filmmaker. And we'll talk about Tarkovsky here, because one of the sort of reviews or notices you receive sort of Tarkovsky by way of Texas, and I can confirm that. In the middle of the film, the second act comes along. I mean, and it has a traditional structure. I mean, you are kind of going on a hero's journey here, and there was part of me that was like, okay, is this going to pay off? Do you know? And you've been in those movies before. Where you're sort of like, okay, and it does. And I was so grateful to you, and it felt like it really did feel like a visionary, mystic experience. And it just was one of those moments in the cinema. And I'm not glazing you, and I'm not just doing this because you're a guest on our show and a friend of a friend. Additionally, when you hear it's like a religious film, you kind of go, okay, what am I getting myself into here? And what a delight that it's not polemical. And you're clearly a creator, an artist who understands film as a mystical, as an almost metaphysical medium. And I believe in that. It's a strange experience going into a dark room with a bunch of other souls and letting this thing wash over you. And that was, I'm kind of holding forth here. Where did the germ of this idea come from, and why did you have to make this film? This comes across as a film that you had to make, not just you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
First things first, I just realized the podcast, why it's called Dark Room now. This is great. So I love that. And, it was one of the things I wasn't planning on making this film. I'm always constantly writing. I'm sure you guys are the same way when you're writing things. It's like, And then you hear other, creators, or they do the same thing as, it took me 30 years to make this film, or 10 years, because it's always being written, but it's just not, the timing's not there. And so this film just sort of came out of nowhere. As I was writing 2 more other films and really tightening up one really well. And I was in an Orthodox liturgy service on a Sunday, and my mind kept drifting looking at the icons. And I was like, there's so many stories that haven't been told about American Orthodoxy. And it's almost like a foreign film idea for people who are Orthodox in other countries, that it's their cradle Orthodox. And for America, it's still kind of foreign. So it's kind of like an opportunity in a non-pretentious way for me to be able to make a foreign film in my own state, that people in Texas would look at it like it's a foreign film. And then people in other countries, we had a chance to go to Romania and Greece recently in October and November. And they said the same thing, that it felt like a foreign film, even though they know the traditions that were on the screen, they were American traditions. And in Romania and Greece, people kept saying that it was like a new genre of cinema, which I found that exciting, instead of something that, I didn't want to do. My dad's a traveling evangelist, and I grew up in that in my life. And as we all know, unfortunately, a lot of that type of filmmaking is either propaganda or it's just bad.
Polemic.
And that's one of the reasons I did really call it El Tonto Por Cristo. I didn't want The Fool for Christ to seem like, Kirk Cameron was going to be in it, and deter anybody from seeing the film. And it's just unfortunate that it has that kind of negative connotation, but it does. And I wanted to not make that kind of film. But I wanted to have cinema first. It wasn't even really, I think Jonathan Pajot was the first person to say, this is not an Orthodox movie. This is just cinema. And it has tapestries of Orthodoxy as the structure, like what you would need in any type of situation. When you watch certain films and, like The Godfather, and you see the Catholic Church, it's part of the people's lives.
The one true faith.
And it's not like this one line that we're going to give you at the end of the film the coach is going to pray at halftime. It's not that. It's like, circling back around to Tarkovsky, it's like the Andrei Rublev, where you don't watch that film and you think, oh, like this is a Christian film that they're trying to, have propaganda. So
yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And Abby, I'm going to tee you up here because, of course, you're the filmmaker and you're I know, very anxious to make your first feature, and you've done any number of shorts. And Abby's out there on her grind. I just wanted to read this one line from Tarkovsky just to kind of frame the hour. And of course, I encourage everybody to go back and listen to Brad Kelly's fabulous Tarkovsky episode, bulk of the series. Brad's going to be back for a number of things next year, including book club for his own book, which we're excited about, coming out here in January. Anyway, here's the Tarkovsky line. Never try to convey your idea to the audience. It is a thankless and senseless task. Show them life, and they'll find within themselves the means to assess and appreciate it. Show, don't tell. It sounds so easy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is not easy, I will confirm. And this film is also a meditation on art, I should say. Abby, do you have any thoughts or questions? I feel like, because I'm not the filmmaker, I feel like I should tee you up a bit.
I'm curious to know what your first feature was about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my first feature is titled This World Won't Break. And it's just to sum it up, it's I think the log line was country music is the sound of a good man feeling bad. And this character wakes up at the age of 40 years old, and he's really dedicated his life to the country music, folk blues craft. And he's seeing his people have passed him and they've gone to stardom, and he's still playing the same nightclubs and backwoods bars. And he rolls into this depression of like, what do I do? Do I continue to make a fool out of myself, he thinks, and keep doing this? Or should I grow up and get a real job? But what's a real job? It's a weird thing. Like, we don't ask plumbers when they've made it, but
Mm.
for some reason, artists, if you don't catapult into the bright lights, we say, well, they were a failure, when you can put, food on the table and pay your mortgage and do all those things by being a singer songwriter and playing venues and selling records and albums. And really, we were trying to watch something. I was scrolling through Netflix like I do, or Amazon or something, spending probably an hour watching movie trailers instead of watching a movie, trying to find the perfect film. And my wife was like, "What are you trying to find?" I go, "I want to,
Mm.
is there a country music movie about a guy who doesn't make it?" You have Crazy Heart, The Fall from Grace, or you have Country Strong, where he plays the stadium. I was like, what happens with the guy who doesn't make it? And I was really reflecting on myself. Most of my
Mhm.
writing, well, all of my writing, is really just where I'm at and trying to use that as my therapy in a way. And my wife goes, "Why don't you just make it then?" And I'd made short films and music videos and productions and done theater. And I was like, why don't I do it? And with technology being where it is, there was really no excuses. It was like I didn't have money, but I had time on the weekends at nights. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life, because I was trying to get funding and people wanted to see my first feature. I was like, that's what I'm making. And so I had to go out there and we made that movie for $35,000,
Wow.
and it went to mid-level film festivals. It won like 14 awards. Not that that needs validation, because this
Mhm.
El Tonto Por Cristo didn't go that route. It was just like one of those things of, oh, you don't need a gazillion dollars. You just need really strong actors, really good locations, a good story, and people are there for it. Quentin Tarantino says, if you have an idea for a film and it's just burning at you to create it, but you don't see it out there, that's when it needs to be made, because there's probably another million people who feel the exact same way as you do.
Mm.
And it needs to be, and maybe not today, but maybe in 10 years, that film finds an audience. And I think that's something that people don't give themselves permission to do, is make something for the future, right? And maybe it's not received at the moment, but maybe, and most great films that we all have loved, like, the Shawshank stories and all these movies that
Mm.
they just fell flat until it became on home video, and, people find it now. It's one of the top 10 greatest films of all time or whatever. So yeah, that was the reason I made This World Won't Break, was that reason. And that's why I made El Tonto Por Cristo as well, is because there was no American Orthodox narrative features out there. Zero. There's a lot of documentaries that are foreign. There's maybe 2 or 3 Orthodox narrative features ever been made. And, I think the stats was there's 290 million Orthodox people in the world right now. I'm like, that's a niche. They always say find a niche. If you're trying to make something, we see that in horror films. And I'm like, well, that's a huge niche. There's an audience that's underserved, and I'm not forcing it. It's not a forced move, obviously I didn't do it for the money today. It's just
Sure.
something that had to be made.
Well, and
When you
go on, Abby.
when you look at your first film and your second film side by side, is there anything, I mean, obviously they sound quite different. Is there anything that you've discovered in them that is perhaps a theme or a reoccurrence that has surprised you and made you think, oh, that's what I'm trying to tell myself or
Oh
other
yeah,
people?
that's a good question. That's a great question. Yeah, I think what it really is I didn't. It's not just a central character, even though it's portrayed that way. And this was something that was subconsciously maybe that I realized watching El Tonto recently, was you have the one guy on the poster who's the main character, but really it's it's almost like choose your own adventure of all the other characters. I think people find themselves in the other characters, not really in the main hero's journey. And they all
Hmm.
kind of have a hero's journey and arc. And maybe that's what I like to create. Like more of like an ensemble. I mean, obviously, I'm very inspired by Robert Altman and Paul Thomas Anderson, in that it's you're asking people for 2 hours of their life, and I think if you really give them everything, give them a story. And sometimes the best way to do that is have, a multiple ensemble. And instead of just one character, because you may be losing the mark with your audience, them not connecting with the main person. So I think really I didn't know that I was doing that, but in my next two films that I'm writing right now, it's the same way. And I think that maybe I'm an ensemble type of director, I guess, writer director.
Well, and of course, for this film, I mean, it's set in a monastery. I mean, the church is the people. It's a group of people, so it is a great ensemble piece with that stunning primary lead. But you're right; that is a difficult character to sort of identify with, and you almost do that kind of alienation at the beginning with that very long scene, wonderfully shot, long introductory sort of opening scene with the brother who comes. And is it to announce someone has passed away? I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Yeah, he's coming to get some stuff signed away because the mom had recently passed and the dad had already passed, and he just needed the brother's signature. And that was really inspired. Speaking of Tarkovsky, that was really inspired by the sacrifice opening scene of the guy on the bicycle and the man and the child by that tree, that little coastal line.
Sure. Well, let's talk about Tarkovsky then, and some of the other filmmakers who inspired this work. What's your top Tarkovsky film for people?
I think Andrei Rublev was for the longest time, and then obviously I like Solaris, but I just recently went and saw a 4K restoration of, and now I'm blanking out. It's his second to last film about it's the guy holds the candle in the pool back and forth.
Is it? Oh gosh, I'm not the super Tarkovsky. I'll look it up right now. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah,
I'll find it.
It's not
Nostalgia, Solaris, Nostalgia. Okay, that's one I'm not familiar with.
So Nostalgia just broke me to pieces. But what I really, really love, and it's not really a Tarkovsky style because he jumped in when he was like 25 or 26 to fulfill a director that they had fired, was Ivan's Childhood. It's just so striking. And you knew who he was when he made that film. Just the way it's the scene with the soldiers grabbing the girl and they're over that ditch, and it's that shot. It's the shot of the wood house with all the spikes in it. And you look at films or TV shows like True Detective and they just rip it off completely to burn it. Sure. You see, like, man, at that young of an age, all that pressure of like, hey, you have to finish this person's film that we just fired. And he came in and he put symbolism in cinema that's not pretentious. It's a fine line. I think that's one of the greatest superpowers of filmmakers that I love is you're thinking to yourself, this should be pretentious, but it's not. This guy's walking back and forth in this pool with his candle, and if the candle blows out, he has to walk back and start over again. It may be a 10-minute scene, I think. And it sounds pretentious. It's not. You cry, you weep, and it's like, man, to be able to have the idea in your head, to write it down, and then to get however many people around you on a certain day to all agree that this is a good idea, to capture it, and then for the audience to connect to it, that's magic to me. And I can't explain it. I can't put my finger on it. I think you just have to, I don't know, believe in yourself, trust in yourself. You're not doing it for art's sake. You're doing it because it's like poetry the same way, right? We look at poems and poetry and it can be very pretentious. But if someone's ever devastated you or you've lost someone and you read a poem and it hits you in a certain way, well, wow, how they do that. And that's the most interesting and exciting thing to me. And I think as a director, as a writer, I think you're always chasing that. And I think that's why you see these directors like Clint Eastwood who are in their 90s and he's going to die on the set. And so is Martin Scorsese. And there's these people that because they haven't captured it yet, even though they've captured it, we all know. But I think that's the That's the drug right there.
I'll co-sign that. Let me say too, as a very bad Catholic, a lifelong cradle Catholic, there's nothing alienating about this film in terms of,
Right.
I guess, what sectarianism. I mean, I think it sounds like you maybe grew up in an evangelical household. I'd love to leave time to talk a little bit about your journey to Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
And certainly admire like a working artist who doesn't shy away from bringing that into the work. I mean, if you look at the complete history of Western art, it was primarily religious for a very, very long time. This sort of is our part of our inheritance as children of the West. And it is sort of shocking how secularized everything has become, especially for a country like America, which, contra the United Kingdom, is notably highly religious. Like on paper, you look at the numbers in terms of just who believes in God and at what rate. We're still an extremely religious country. It's almost alienating on the world stage in many ways. It's just the story in so many ways about America and the American character. So I just laud you for not shying away from that. Abby, do you have any other sort of filmic questions here before I launch into the discussion of orthodoxy?
What is it about Tarkovsky's films that resonates so much with you?
I really think he's one of those creators, writer, directors who his work demands several showings and revisiting. As you age and grow older, different things become relevant that maybe they were just beautiful and they don't alienate you, right? It's cinema that stands the test of time. When you watch it, it's like I always say, like Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. I've always liked the film, and I became a father, and the film changed. And now that I'm in my late 40s, I am George Bailey. And I do feel like Tarkovsky is so way ahead of you, that each showing as you grow older, like nostalgia, just, it breaks your heart about a man who's on his last days. And so, we're all going to get there at some point. So, wow, what a film to like stand the test of time. And then have Ivan's childhood about, the innocence of a child and war and just humanity. And I like the way that he doesn't apologize for anything. Like I said, like the candle scene in the pool, it's one of the most beautiful scenes in cinema. And I don't know if it's not independent, if you can make that, you can't make that anymore, and he really fought, the Russian government about, because they would just edit his films down and no one really saw the true films until like recently we're seeing, his full work. And then he moves to Europe. I mean, he moves to Paris or Italy, France. I don't know. He moved somewhere like that. And he was able to like really start making his films, but then his life was cut short. And so there's something maybe subconsciously haunting about that, where we all think we have a lot of time and we're chasing it. And I think that, well, I couldn't imagine a world we could be living in if Tarkovsky still had 5 more films left in him. So I don't know. He's sort of an enigma to me. He's sort of an example. I read all of his books, and I was recently in Romania at a film festival called the Cuvades Film Festival, and his son Andrei Tarkovsky Jr. was there, and he watched my film. He spoke about his father, and we ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, and we became fast friends.
Wow.
And the night of the closing gala, the Romanian orchestra of like 50 musicians played the music from all my films live.
Wow.
And I was sitting next to Andrei Tarkovsky Jr. And I was like, this is the most surreal thing in my life. I couldn't have made this up. And I think that's, why we do this. It's not for the red carpet or the applause by any means. That's always seems uncomfortable and strange. I think it's when things happen full circle in your life, and magic like that happens because of cinema.
Absolutely. Yeah, the same thing can happen, whatever you do in the arts. And if you're chasing money, uh, I don't know, you're in the wrong, you're in the wrong line.
Yeah,
There'd be
Um,
easier ways to make money.
there are
much,
easier ways to make money.
much easier ways to make money, but not
There's ways to make money.
yeah, right. Well, there, but that won't lead you to sit next to Tarkovsky's son while they play your music.
Right.
And when you lie in your deathbed, you're not going to think about that meme coin that you missed or that you hit. At least I hope not. Yeah, fantastic. Can we just shift real briefly to, I mean, as much as you want to talk about it, to your journey to Orthodoxy?
Yeah.
There has been a kind of upswelling of that, I think, of late. And then after that, I'd like to talk about the phenomenon of the midlife crisis for men,
Yeah.
which is treated as almost comical, but which I've lately discovered is a very real thing
For sure.
that we need to prepare our sons for. But
Yeah.
first, tell me about your relationship to American Orthodoxy in general, how you arrived there. I'm very curious.
Um, yeah. So, like I said earlier, my dad was. I was a traveling evangelist kid, and this is. I was born in the late '70s, so I was on tour at White Tent Revivals in the early '80s and backwoods of Mississippi and the South and Louisiana. And it's wild. People always ask me what did that feel like as a kid, and I'm like, well, I didn't know any other difference in life. It was just that's what my life was. We were in a station wagon, 3-piece suits. Me and my brother would open up. There was a lady named uh Geraldine who had a puppet named Ricky, and she looked like Loretta Lynn, and she would do her act, and then my dad would go on. We'd pass the offering plates around, and we'd go to a motel and go jump in the pool. My dad would count the offering on the bed, and I thought, man, we've made it. This is big time. And it was a wild ride. And then we landed back in Dallas, Texas. My dad pastored a Baptist church, and then he started a non-denominational church. They brought in the guitars and the drum, the acoustic guitar, and so it was really confusing, not knowing, when we used to travel, I used to have to ask, like, do we watch TV and movies, in case someone asked me? And he's like, we watch TV, we don't go to the movies, because each denomination had a different, rule and regulation. It was really bizarre. And so it's really confusing. And so I had to do a lot of unpacking. And when I had children, I was like, they do need to be involved in the church. And I just had to figure out, like, what is that? Maybe it's the Catholic Church, because that's the oldest. That's what I know. And my wife was like, she was done with the church, but not ready to throw out Christ, she said. And then my brother-in-law was like, well, there's also the Orthodox Church. You should just check it out. Because I'm an inquirer or catechumen at the time. And I went, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, because I stepped into it and there was no technology. It wasn't like I was seeing Coldplay on Sunday morning. There was no fog machine and guitars. And
Sure.
it was
Yeah.
just these Lord of the Rings looking men who were sensing. And I remember talking to Father John Anderson from Dallas, Texas, and I asked him a question. I was ready to hear his take on it. And he just goes, and he has these piercing blue eyes. He's in his late 70s. And he just said, Josh, that's a mystery. And I was like, excuse me? He was like, I don't know the answer to that. And, and we don't know the answer, but one day we'll know the answer. But for now, it's a mystery. And, and he talked about the most important is putting beauty into the world. These are all things that are complete opposite of how I grew up. It's throw that trash bag in a landfill. Jesus is coming back soon, and these priests are talking about, we're supposed to take care of the earth. We're supposed to take care of each other, and just all these beautiful things. And that's what I needed in my life. I needed beauty. And I think my children needed structure, because they were, 8 and 10 years old when we started. And now they're 22 and 24 years old. And it's a part of their calendar, right? Our life is, there's always something to pull our attention, but with the Orthodox calendar, it's not going to change. You know, there's going to be a Vespers or a service on a night, even if no one's there. The priest isn't waiting for an audience. It's just liturgical calendar. And there's nothing more beautiful than being stressed out in Dallas, Texas, and just going straight to the cathedral, even if it's for like 10 minutes, and hearing some chanting and lighting a candle and just being still from this busy world that we're in. And so I try to capture that.
Yeah, that comes over in the film.
Yeah, I try to capture that in a way of, you know, all the madness or all the different personal struggles that everyone can have. There's something beautiful and mysterious about the church. And if that could be the theme, then we can add the madness, the comedy, the spookiness, all that comes along. And that's one thing I really wanted to make sure is in my films that there's a bit of humor that comes right off the steps of something sad.
Yeah, I'm sure people would maybe come away from the conversation so far thinking this is maybe a turgid film, and
Right.
it's not. And it has there is a lot of humor. The younger monks, but it has it all. I mean, it really has a feeling of like life lived, but not. It's not realism. It's a spiritual film.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to be a Christian either to appreciate this film.
I don't think, a lot of
I would hope not.
What's wild is a lot of most of our investors were not Orthodox. They were not Christian. They were patrons of the arts who have a spiritual life, whatever those avenues are. And they saw the treatment, they saw a table read, and they were all in. They were like, this is beautiful. This needs to be seen. And, with the black and white 1:6:1 ratio, they were all in. And there was no, like we said, there was no propaganda or no preaching in it. It was just, oh, they can be still. It's like going to any art house film, and it's something you've never experienced before, and you take away something. It's like learning something, you're learning whatever that is that's not your culture or tradition. That's why I think I really like foreign films as well, because we can't travel to all the places all the time, but you can be in someone's home thanks to cinema.
Absolutely. You shot this in 15 days?
15
days. Unreal.
Yeah, filmmakers out there, do not shoot a film in 15 days.
How?
It was pre-production, lots of planning. I always say it's the grace of God. There's no way a human being could actually pull that off. And I learned a lot from my first film. I knew that we had more money this time, but it wasn't enough money. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to not have money, because if you have money, everybody wants a little bit of it. And so I think with this film, we had just enough. We were very open about it with our actors, location. Like, this is how much we have. We filmed it during the SAG strike. We were one of the very few films in the world that were filming in 2023, because we got the SAG interim agreement the last night they were giving them out. The next day they canceled and shut down every other film unless you had the SAG interim agreement. And this tiny little film on the coast of Texas got one of those. While A24, Matthew McConaughey, everybody else got one. We got the last one, and everybody was locked in because the actors knew they were getting paid. It was a big deal to be an actor, to be on a film that had the SAG interim agreement. And we all knew we only had 15 days. And I mean, I literally only slept like about 2 to 3 hours a day, because I was also like the production designer assistant. I was gaffing the lights. I was doing, there was no assistants. We just had basically the cinematographer. He had a camera assistant, and then we had a sound guy, and then everybody else was just helping. But sometimes it's easier just to gaff a light and fix a light than to try to explain to someone who doesn't know what a C-stand is, or more or less a duck bill or an apple box, and people just stare at you. You're like, I got it. And so I've gotten that motion of like, I know how much time we have, and I can't believe we shot it. And that I wish I had, when I watched the film, everything's there and I'm always so happy, but there's always like a moment where I'm like, oh, but we could have done this. We could have done this. But it's what Ron Howard says. No matter what your production budget is, no matter how many days, no matter what actors you have, when you watch the final showing, it's guaranteed to break your heart.
Gracious. It doesn't look like a film that was shot in 15 days. How savagely, how intensely did you storyboard it? Because it feels like it was very well storyboarded.
I did. And I do more of a lookbook / storyboard. I don't do scene for scene.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I kind of draw them out for the DP, and then this is what it's going to feel like and look like. And I share with the actors as well. And then I do so much pre-production. Like I went to every single location that we were shooting at, because, you don't have money to do that, to hire people, but I have time. I could, on a Saturday, literally morning, sunrise to sunset, I'm at that location and I'm photographing all the rooms, all the lighting.
And the light.
And so that's sort of my storyboard. I give those things to the DP and I'm saying, this is what it looks like at 1 o'clock. This is what it looks like at 3 o'clock. You want harsh shadows. We can only do this at 4. And so then you're rearranging your schedule to how things are going to look and feel. So that part is very laborious, and it's not my strong point. But I know that if we do those things up front, we can be creative on set, and we're not worrying about technical, because that's what bogs down. I was just doing a film. I was acting in a film this week, and it was those type of things, because it was all technical. Technical was slowing down every single day that I was there and on. And then you get to certain parts and now you're just doing one take. We got to go. And, it's like, well, oh my gosh, that's your movie, So I think, for filmmakers, you won't have any money, but you will have time, and you have to sacrifice. Like, I don't think I watched any movies for almost a year. I would watch really dumb movies just to like numb my brain.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to the cinema. I also didn't want to be like subconsciously influenced,
Sure.
I already was. There's some, I just recently watched Kyle Dreyer's Ordette, and I was like, I just ripped off a fourth of that movie. And no intention. It was never a lookbook, but my brain must have been dialed into Carl Dreyer's at that point. But yeah, that's how we did it. It's and for 2 weeks you can sacrifice. You're doing what you love. I recently I was complaining on the airplane the other day. We were flying. I was like, I'm so tired. I don't want to stay at another hotel. And I read this quote, and it was, don't complain about the things you wished for 4 or 5 years ago that you wished you were doing. This is part of it. I'm traveling, I'm walking a red carpet because we just made a feature film, and here I am complaining about the travel. And everything's relative, I understand. But yeah, just like that, you can forget that you were trying to write,
Yeah.
And here we are on podcast.
That's why it's a practice to be grateful.
It is. It really, really is. It's hard.
It is. It is a day-to-day thing. I try to tell people when I'm proud of them, just family and friends, and I try to note when things are going well. Not in a boastful way, but I'll definitely let you know when things are going poorly. People will always tell you when things are going poorly. They will not tell you well, and we've got to flip the script on that. This is a good segue into something I've wanted to do here for a few minutes. Cinematic Pilgrimage 2026. El Tonto Por Cristo coming to your town. I see a few TBAs in here, so I don't know if I want to announce anything, but maybe I'll let you, Josh, plug the tour. Where are you going to be next? It looks like you have some dates in February. Is this all still happening? Are you
When
going
does
back
this
on the road?
when does this podcast come out?
It comes out today. It comes out on
Okay.
Sunday, December 21st,
Well, this is good.
2025.
This is great.
Mhm.
So be by the New York Post on Tuesday, and you're going to hear some incredibly exciting news about Tonto Por Cristo. I can't say anything today.
Wow. Wait, are we
but
getting a scoop on Art of
yes,
Darkness? We're in the dark room. We're getting a scoop here, people. Okay.
the dark room is getting the first scoop that if you tune into the New York Post on Tuesday, there's a huge announcement about El Tonto Por Cristo.
Wow.
There
I'm
may
so
or may
excited.
not be an interview with me in there talking
Wow.
about 2026 and where
Okay.
we're kicking off things. But yes, we learned so much. The reason we did this was this independent tour. We kind of were following a case study of this film called Hundreds of Beavers. That's like a silent black and white movie that turned down distribution, took it on the road, and it's gone viral. And now they're in 70 or 80 more cinemas this month.
Love it.
And they did what we were doing, which is, there's never enough money for marketing. You hear these budgets where it's like, oh, it costs 200 million to make, but it has to make 400 million because they spent 200 million in P&A. And, obviously we don't have that. We shot the film in 14 days, 15 days. So obviously we don't have the marketing budget. So we took the same aspect of like, well, the best thing in this day and age really is word of mouth. You see Rotten Tomatoes, like the audience score can be through the roof and critics may not like it, but word of mouth is people like it and they're going to go see it.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. We've seen the first showing was here in Dallas. It's hometown. So it's 650 people sold out. That made sense. But then we went to Memphis and it was 150 people. And then it's grown like in LA. I think there was maybe 300 or 400 people. In Birmingham, we did it on 3 screens at the same time. There was that many people driving in. People were driving in from Michigan, from Florida, just because it wasn't going to be in their town. And the word of mouth on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, people were saying, I got to see this movie. I need to see it in person. And it's interactive. Like when you come in, people get these gold crowns, these gold metallic crowns that they all wear. And we have a merch booth set up. We have a VIP meet and greet. We have all of these things. So where people are feeling like they're part of a community. And I'll be talking to someone, an hour and a half after the film's already wrapped and they're at the merch booth and we're doing a Q&A or something. And they're talking to me and they have their gold crown on. And just because they put it on 3.5 hours ago and they're just immersed inside the film. So that's what we're going to be doing for 2026. But we've learned some stuff along the way, as you do, positive and negatives. And we're going to turn 2026 into a more positive thing, which is where we'll probably be showing only on Sunday nights. And there's the gold crown right there. Kevin
has his gold crown for everybody on YouTube.
Yeah. And we've been getting tagged in all kinds of photos of people with okay, this is wild. Because of this type of grassroots, my son took a picture. He was at the gym working out and he took a photo of a guy who none of us know at one of the machines, and he's wearing an El Tonto Por Cristo t-shirt. And so it's like,
love it.
Yeah, it's A24 is really good at this, at their marketing, and it's personal. It's personalized. Like, if you are on part of the A24 club on your birthday, they send you something like a little book or a zine or tickets or I think that we used to have stuff like that in the 80s. There was something about like, you're reaching the cereal box and the toy's in there, and there's something that, it's so small, but there's something human about participating and receiving. And that's what we're doing with this tour. And we're going to be playing on Sunday nights. That way, if you go to church or don't go to church, it's a good night for movies, and then priests can go see it. It's not a night where they have to be in service. And that way, people can travel on a Saturday, go see the film, and head back on a Monday. So we're figuring things out. And obviously 2026 will be very, very short of a theatrical because we're going to kick it off. We're going to do a live stream Q&A globally where people can tune into their TVs. It'll be on an app where it throws to their TVs, and they can watch the film like we sort of did with an intro, actor Q&A. And then that night, the film will be released digitally for purchase, and the Blu-ray, which is what we're finalizing the commentary and some of my favorite scenes that did not make it into the movie. My two favorite scenes that I wrote in the play and in the movie are not in the movie, but you can get them on the Blu-ray. And yeah, there's a lot of exciting things. And the album is, I mean, the film soundtrack is also on double vinyl. So you can buy the double vinyl, and it has stickers, sheet music, original posters that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, we did like an indie rock. This is like indie rock, early 2000s tour is what we did. My wife's in the band called the Polyphonic Spree. And
I've heard of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they're on the soundtrack. They actually had a Christmas show last night. And the guy who plays Gabriel in the film is the lead singer of the Polyphonic Spree and Tripping Daisy. And I kind of like subconsciously have seen their marketing, and it worked. Indie rock.
That's how it's done.
It's how it's done. You know, I mean, because if you look at what happened to the music industry, is royalties and album sales all just went away,
gone.
And so
Spotify ate them.
Yeah, and so but music pivoted very quickly, and
to live,
film
live
has been
and merch.
Dinosaur. Yeah, I'm like, guys, you saw what happened to music. You got to transition for film, and you know they make their used to go on tour to make an album. Now you make an album to go on tour, and so that's what we did with this movie. We made a film so we could go on tour.
Cinematic pilgrimage. We're coming into the home stretch here with filmmaker Josh David Jordan. I'm going to let Abby get the last few questions in here before we take a break for the After Dark on the last darkroom of 2025. That's for patrons. You know where it is, artofdarkpod.com. And on the After Dark, we're going to do our final, or maybe our penultimate, random reading from David Lynch's great Catching the Big Fish in honor of the gone but not forgotten David Lynch. And then I'm going to read a little bit from a lecture Tarkovsky gave to sort of anchor the After Dark. And then I think I'm going to ask Josh on the After Dark what his next big project is or might be. But we'll save that for the paywall. We had some really nice support come in December. Would love to see more. Best way to do it is to sign up for a year at a time. Just go to Patreon and just sign up. Give yourself a Christmas gift, as it were. Give the gift of Art of Darkness. All right, Abby, I am sure you have at least one or two more questions for Josh. And by the way, Josh, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the gift of this film. You're welcome. You're a friend of the pod now, so anytime, anytime you got something. Oh, listen, anytime you want to come on, just hit us up. All right, what's up, Abby?
No. I was just trying to see if I was going to cough or not, but I'm not.
Okay. Oh, good.
No, I was going to say. I mean, it's always interesting because directors seem to come to the medium from different places. So, what do you think coming to film as a theater practitioner has given you, which you may not see in other directors who are sort of more from a technical background?
Yeah, I think coming as an actor, you approach things differently. It's another tool to have in the tool belt. It's not everything. I don't know if all great actors are good directors or vice versa. I think it helps me, but also I think it's the preparatory part, which is, in theater, you build things and you figure things out along the way. And I think what happens with film sets these days is people have a money hose and they can just throw money at it and we're going to fix it on the day of, or you just buy a lot of things and try to figure it out. And it's not like the perfect thing. In theater, it's always like the perfect shoes. The actor has the perfect shirt and he has the things in his pocket. That's something Matthew Posey taught me early on, which was, I would keep certain things in my pocket that the character would have. The audience would never see it, but if you ever put they're just there. And I would take that. And so my actors, I give them certain things. I'll give them wardrobe or clothing or a certain coin, or I'll give them a moleskin book that tells them about their life at sea as a captain of a boat. And it's never talked about in the film, and it's never discussed. But Matt wears like this little fishing hat, like a captain's hat in the film, Father John. And he's on a boat, and there's water. And so there's the essence of it, but it's not blatant. But I think the theater is you spend so much time together as actors and directors. You rehearse so much, and then there's this kinship and bond. And as an actor, when you show up on a set and everybody's already been hanging out, the grips have their thing, other actors have been on set for 2 weeks, and maybe you're just a day player, and there's a bit of alienation. And I'm sure the great actors are fine with that, but I think there's a little bit of insecurity that comes along, and maybe the actor is worried about that. And so I have lots of voice memos that I send my actors. I take my DP out to eat. We go see movies together. I do all the things to form a bond and a life together so that we all have a shorthand when we're on set. And that all comes from the theater, is spending so much time together. And I know I can't get everyone together all the time, but at least I can be the North Star, and they can all feel comfortable around me. And so, that's what I've taken from the theater, I think.
Will you both indulge me for a minute? I watched just a fantastic film yesterday. And Josh, it sounds like you might be back into film watching mode. I don't want to poison the well. But of course, the best streaming service is Criterion by far. And I watched at random, a 1978 film called Northern Lights. Are either of you familiar with this? Let me strongly recommend this film.
Yes.
I'm from North Dakota. Somehow I did not know about this film. It's an independent film, and it dramatizes the founding, and I'm just reading from Wiki here, the founding of the Nonpartisan League in North Dakota, a left-wing populist political movement. It was produced by John Hanson and Robert Nilsson. It won the Palme d'Or in 1979 for Best First Feature Film. It was filmed on location in North Dakota in 1977 during the fall and the winter. It's been compared to Days of Heaven. They shot it in 16 millimeter black and white. And due to the extreme cold winter weather, with temperatures reaching as low as -40, many of the outdoor scenes had to be shot in short bursts because cameras and other equipment only functioned for a short time before freezing up. And about a third of the film is in Norwegian. So please, if you have Criterion streaming, it's streaming on Criterion now. I was shocked to have never heard of this. This is one of those movies where you go, wait a minute, these are my people. Quite literally my people. And we were Norwegians. My stepfather's Norwegian. It's neither here nor there. But please, just if I can, you're a filmmaker. You're working, and of course Abby too. And I just want to put that in your ear.
I just added it to my list. Yeah.
It's staggering. It was shocking. I'm like, how did this slip through the cracks? But
this is what we're talking about, which is 1977. This film's made, and here we are in 2025, and I'm about to experience something that I wouldn't not have known about. It's so great.
I would genuinely love to know what you think of it, Abby.
Of course,
yeah, please, Abby. Last word for you, if you have any, and then we'll take a break. We'll come back on the After Dark. We're going to do Catching the Big Fish. We're going to read some Tarkovsky, and we'll talk with Josh David Jordan, director of El Tonto Por Cristo, which is going to be touring. I guess you're going to want to check out the New York Post here soon to get the scoop. It's like our old friend Scoop Wasserstein, Abby. Wasn't he the New York Post Wassersteins? That's an inside thing. You have a last question, Abby?
That wasn't necessary for the podcast. What's next, Josh?
I want to save it for the After Dark. Can we do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's next is people have to tune into the After Dark.
There you go. Awesome. Always do the indie rock thing. We'll see you in a bit.
All right. Sounds good.
Josh. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Great work.